Tonight, we journey deep into the heart of ancient history. Part 4 of our epic series, The History of Israel. The torches are lit, the shadows grow long, and the voices of the past are calling. So, dim your lights, pour yourself a rich, warm cup of coffee, and settle in. If history sparks your imagination, join our growing community. Subscribe, tap the like button, and share this with fellow time travelers. Now, let us step together into the era of the Judges.
The era of the Judges, the land in turmoil, a nation without a king. Picture this, a sprawling land of hills, valleys, olive groves, and narrow stone paths winding between scattered villages. It is a place where ancient voices still echo, the voices of a people trying to forge a future out of the wilderness. This was Israel after Joshua, a time of great promise but deep uncertainty. The Israelites had entered the promised land, a land flowing with milk and honey, rich with ancient history and mystery. Yet, instead of the strong, united kingdom they had hoped for, the tribes found themselves loosely bound together, like a patchwork quilt, frayed at the edges. Each tribe guarded its own territory fiercely, proud of its ancestry and traditions. Yet, they lacked a single ruler to unite them. The dream of a king remained just that, a dream. The 12 tribes, Reuben, Simeon, Judah, Issachar, Zebulun, Dan, Naphtali, Gad, Asher, Ephraim, Manasseh, and Benjamin, were scattered across the land. Their settlements stretched from the coastal plains, where the Philistines dwelled, to the rolling hills of Judah and the forests of Naphtali. Without a central authority, the tribes acted almost independently, bound more by shared memory and faith than by any political system. This tribal confederation was fragile. Local elders and chieftains ruled their own people, but when danger loomed, they needed a leader, someone who could rally the tribes to stand as one. This leader was called a judge, divinely appointed deliverer, who rose in times of crisis to guide Israel through chaos. The cycle of darkness and deliverance life in Israel during this era followed a painful, almost predictable pattern, a cycle that shaped the hearts and minds of the people. It began with disobedience. The Israelites, tempted by the gods of their neighbors, the Baals, Asherahs, and others, turned away from Yahweh. They forgot their covenant, adopting foreign customs, forsaking justice, and neglecting the laws handed down through Moses. As a consequence, their enemies, sensing weakness, would invade. The Philistines from the coast, the Midianites from the east, the Moabites from the south all pressed hard on the tribes. Fields were burned, homes destroyed, and the people were enslaved or scattered. In their despair, the Israelites would cry out to Yahweh, repentant and broken. In response, God raised up a judge, charismatic, often unlikely hero who would lead the people to victory and restore peace. Yet, this peace was fleeting. After the judge's death, the people would fall back into sin and the cycle would repeat. Deborah, the woman under the palm among the judges. Deborah shines like a beacon, a rare woman who wielded not only wisdom but also power. Imagine a quiet morning in ancient Israel. Under a tall palm tree near the hill country, Deborah sat, hearing the disputes of her people. Her presence was commanding. Her voice carried the weight of divine authority. She was both prophetess and judge, a spiritual leader who communicated the will of God. Men and women alike came to her for guidance. But Israel's enemies were closing in. King Jabin of Hazor had oppressed the land for 20 years, and his general Sisera ruled with an iron fist. The Israelites lived in fear. One day, Deborah summoned Barak, a military commander known for his bravery. "The Lord commands you," she told him, "to gather 10,000 men from Naphtali and Zebulun and march to Mount Tabor. There, the Lord will deliver Sisera into your hands." Barak hesitated. "I will go only if you go with me," he said. Deborah agreed. Together, they led the army. The battle was fierce, but then the skies opened, and a violent storm flooded the battlefield. The chariots of Sisera's army bogged down in mud, becoming easy targets. As the enemy fled, Sisera ran to the tent of Jael, a woman who offered refuge. But Jael had her own courage and resolve. When Sisera slept, exhausted, she drove a tent peg through his temple. Deborah's victory song, sung afterward, is one of the oldest poems in the Bible, a celebration of courage, faith, and the deliverance of Israel. Gideon, the doubting hero. The story of Gideon begins in the fields, where a man tries to hide his fear. The Midianites were terrorizing Israel, sweeping through like locusts and destroying everything in their path. Farmers hid their grain in winter presses to keep it safe. Gideon, a farmer from the tribe of Manasseh, was threshing wheat secretly when an angel appeared. "The Lord is with you, mighty warrior," the angel said. Gideon looked around. "If the Lord is with us, why has all this happened to us? Where are all his wonders?" God's call to Gideon was both an invitation and a challenge. But Gideon was unsure. He asked for signs, miraculous tests involving dew and fleece to prove God's promise. Finally convinced, Gideon gathered an army. But God told him to reduce his troops first from 32,000 to 10,000. Then to 300. The reason was clear: the victory would be God's, not man's. In the dead of night, Gideon's men surrounded the Midianite camp. They blew trumpets, broke jars, and shouted, creating panic. The enemy soldiers fled, turning on one another in confusion. Gideon's faith grew, but he was not without flaws. After the battle, he made an ephod, a religious garment that became an object of idolatry, illustrating the ongoing struggle to keep Israel faithful. Samson, strength and weakness. Samson's story reads like an epic legend. From birth, Samson was set apart. His mother was barren until an angel promised a son who would begin to deliver Israel from the Philistines. Samson was a Nazirite dedicated to God with strict vows, including never cutting his hair. His strength was legendary. He tore a lion apart with his bare hands and defeated armies with makeshift weapons. Yet, Samson was impulsive and headstrong. His love for Delilah led to his downfall. Delilah, bribed by the Philistines, coaxed Samson into revealing the secret of his strength. While he slept, she cut his hair. The Philistines captured him, blinded him, and put him in prison. But even in captivity, Samson's strength returned. In his final act, he pushed apart the pillars of the temple where the Philistines celebrated, collapsing the building and killing thousands, including himself. Samson's tragic life symbolized the struggle between human frailty and divine purpose. Daily life, faith, and social structure. The people of Israel in this era were farmers, shepherds, and craftsmen. Life was simple but harsh. Most families lived in small villages or scattered farms. Religion was woven into daily life, but worship was local and varied. Without a centralized temple, people built altars or worshipped at sacred sites. The tabernacle, a portable sanctuary built during the Exodus, still moved with the people but was not always accessible. Elders held authority in their clans, and disputes were settled in community gatherings. Women like Deborah and Jael proved that courage and wisdom knew no gender. Yet, the society was patriarchal, and family honor was paramount. The dawn of a new era. Why Israel needed a king. The stories of the judges reveal a nation struggling to find stability. While the judges were heroes, their leadership was temporary and often limited. The tribes often acted independently, and rivalries were common. As threats from powerful neighbors increased, many Israelites longed for a king to unite the people. This desire would lead to the anointing of Saul, Israel's first king, marking the end of the era of the judges and the beginning of the monarchy. Reflection. The era of the judges was a crucible of faith and identity for Israel. It was a time when ordinary people became extraordinary leaders, when faith was tested by hardship, and when the promise of a united nation remained just out of reach. The stories of Deborah, Gideon, and Samson remind us that leadership often arises from unlikely places, that courage and faith can overcome great odds, and that human weakness is part of every great story